A very good evening. Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It's the 1st of May and the final month of meteorological spring. Isn't it hard to believe we're already into the month of May and we are rapidly approaching summer? And speaking of summer, I will have the upcoming summer 2024 forecast right here on Mark Vogan Weather on YouTube in the next few weeks. So at the very end of this month, I will have the all important, all you've been waiting for summer forecast, something to look forward to. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I do greatly appreciate that. We'll have the live stream back this upcoming Sunday at 4 p.m. And yes, I'm back in Mark Vogan Weather HQ here in Edmonton, Rossshire. Did have a lovely holiday, I must admit, a lazy one. Didn't do an awful lot, I must say. And it was nice to have a little bit of rest and relaxation. But also excited to be back here on the channel proper with videos and talking about all things weather. How's your week been so far? Have you enjoyed it? Has it been busy? And we've also got the upcoming bank holiday weekend to look forward to. We'll talk a little bit about that as well in today's video. But I want to also look back at the month of April, an interesting month, a very distinct tale of two halves, a very warm and wet first half to April. I know some people will probably argue the warm aspect, but it was firmly warmer than average. And then it's almost like there was a switch flicked bang on the middle of the month, and then it changed to a drier and considerably cooler theme during the second half of the month. So during the first 9 to 12 days of the month, that tipped the balance to make it what was like it was going to become the sixth wettest April on record. So even the drier second half of the month didn't really matter because we'd already bagged the sixth wettest April in recorded history for the UK here. It was a dull month as well, and also the temperature averaged just marginally above the seasonal norm for the month of April because we had the very mild first half, but the equally balanced out second cold half. And overall, it turned out close to average temperature wise, but considerably wetter than average in terms of rainfall. So much so that it was 55% above the average for the UK as a whole. So to summarise, this is straight off the Met Office Twitter page here. April 2024, wet and dull. It's been the sixth wettest since 1836, and sunshine has been in short supply. We did have, like I say already, 55% more rainfall than the April average. Scotland recorded its fourth wettest April on record. And remember what has been so far. This is a very interesting graphic showing the distinct tale of two halves. So we had the firm, warmer than average first half with these two significant spikes. Then we had a couple of short spikes of cooler than average, a brief blip to above average, and then we had a firm trend below average, which meant that basically the balance was equaled out here with a slightly warmer than average end to the month of April overall. So looking at other aspects of the month here, like I say, it was a rather dry, not dry month, sorry. It was a rather dull month as well. April has been a continuation of the past few months. This is off the Met Office. Often wet, windy, and unsettled. April showers were present from the beginning, with frontal systems bringing persistent rain. Although a high pressure system moved over the UK in the 20th, bringing some drier weather, by the end of the month, low pressure was back in charge. Hence that little spike above average as the low pressure returned also here. Meteorological spring, March through May, has so far been wet. Both England and Wales have already seen more than their long-term average rainfall for the entirety of the season. So that being the month of March, April, and May combined. So despite the fact that we're in the 1st of May, it's already been an above average season just through March and April alone, which is rather interesting. So the average in terms of temperature temperatures then dropped. So April was a month of two halves when it comes to temperatures. The month started off warm, particularly along the southeast of the UK. Writtle and Essex recorded 21.8 Celsius, the warmest day of the year and the warmest day of the month overall. Temperatures then dropped, remaining slightly below average for most of the last 2 weeks of April. This balanced out the warmer first half with the colder second half at the start, and resulted in a provisional monthly mean of 8.3 for the UK and only 0.4 Celsius higher than the 91 2020 average. So, rather interesting actually that. And then I want to compare what was said here on Mark Vogan Weather with regards to the April outlook. So, what did I say with regards to April? Generally speaking, I did state that we would have a soggy start and potentially a drier second half. So, first half warmer and wetter, second half cooler and drier. Now, I did say that it would be wetter than average, firmly wetter than average, but I also said that it would be a warmer than average month overall. So, therefore, the little slight negative in the forecast, if you ask me, would be that I thought it would be a warmer than average month more firmly than what we actually seen. So, but I think generally speaking, it was a pretty decent forecast for the month of April here. So I said at the very bottom of the article here, this is freely available on markvoganweather.com. Overall, I expect the UK and Ireland to see the continuation of both warmer and wetter than average conditions through April, warmer than average across most of Europe. And this was the temperature anomaly for the month of April according to the CDAS data of weatherbell.com. So it was a below average across Scandinavia, warmer than average across the majority of mainland Europe. As you can see here, for the UK, it was very slightly above average across southwest Wales, southwestern, southern England, East Anglia, and then for the rest of the UK, it was average with a little bit of below average across the Northwest Highlands, as you can see here. So I think generally speaking, that warmer and dry, warmer and wetter, I'll get there eventually. Sorry about that. I think overall the ideas for the month of April has played out reasonably well. What did I say for the month of May? I thought it would be near average temperature wise, but a possibility of a drier than average month, and this is going away from the wet theme. Whether it be a long term drying trend or whether it would be a blip remains to be seen. And I'm standing by that potentially drier than average May. Now, remember that the jet stream at this time of the year becomes weaker. This is quite often a relatively high pressure dominated pattern. I say relatively so because it doesn't necessarily need to be, rainless, clear blue skies day after day. Generally speaking, May as well as the month of September can quite often be high pressure, blocky type months that tend to deliver less in the way of rainfall. Where higher pressure, if it happens, sets up, will determine the type of distribution of temperature, etc., etc. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a second. But this is the upcoming 7 days of the GFS ensemble. And you can see here that we've got a distinct drier than average north, wetter than average south across the UK. So therefore, you can pretty much guess that we're going to have higher pressure to the north, lower pressure to the south, and therefore we have a somewhat cooler east, warmer west, and that's exactly what we've got today. We've got easterly winds, we've got low cloud, fret and har drifting in from the North Sea up the eastern side of Scotland and England. Cool conditions here. The further west you go, especially to the west of the Pennines, to the west of the Grampians, etc., Northwest Highlands, North Wales, western portions of England, that tends to be where the warmest conditions are. We'll get to the details in just a second, but this is the upcoming 7 days. Talking about this possible drier than average May theme. So this is the upcoming 7. As we continue to play through the loop, you notice here that we start to see a drying theme showing up. Now the reason for that is the modelling is starting to hint more and more firmly about the potential higher pressure building in over the UK. Like I say, the details, the position, the strength will determine how dry and how warm the temperatures may be. Where the high pressure sets up will determine cloud cover, showers, and temperature. But notice here that through the period 10th through the 17th of May, we've got a drier than average theme across the UK. If we look at temperature wise here, you can see here that it is indicating weekly warmer than average conditions, cooler than average across Central Europe here, slightly warmer across the north and across the south of the continent here. If we look at the upper air pattern for the same time frame, you can see that we have in the upcoming 5-day period higher pressure to the north, lower pressure to the south. We've got rain moving in from a southerly direction. We've got areas of low pressure, including one over the continent, that's going to try and spread and will spread thundery rain across southern England, parts of Wales, moving up into the north of England over the next 24 hours. This evening into tomorrow morning, through the day tomorrow, we've got an area of low pressure moving in off the near continent. What that's also doing is it's transporting warmer and more humid air off the continent and into the southern UK. But high pressure to the south, low pressure to the high pressure to the north, lower pressure to the south. You've got easterly winds. What that does is cool east and warmer west. And you can see here, this is the current temperature profile according to Meteoseal for the UK. Notice here that we've only got 9.3 at Inverbervie with onshore winds, while we've got at Old Bay 20.1 Celsius. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see 23 Celsius this afternoon in somewhere like Kinlochhew in the Northwest Highlands. We've got that Fern effect. Winds coming in directly off cold waters of the North Sea, always chilly. As you cross over the hills with sunshine, you've got the downslope effect and you've got temperatures rising. So you've only got 10.3 at Tain, while you've got 17.2 at Loch Lascarnock. Not a particularly significant distance, but a substantial rise in temperatures. And then when you get to the west coast, you've actually got warmer than average conditions by quite a way. Low teens is average for this time of the year, by the way, in this part of the world. Even across Northern Ireland, you've only got 13s and 14s at Belfast, Aldergrove versus the Harbour. And then as you move towards the northwest and the west, you've got temperatures of 17 Celsius. You've also got 16 at Castledown. Not a heat wave by any stretch for the 1st of May, but you can see, generally speaking, what I'm talking about here. Now, the southeast of England here, we do actually have the warmest conditions. At Lakenheath, for example, we've got 23 Celsius at the moment, at 21, 22 Celsius across parts of Cambridgeshire, Norfolk, Suffolk. And then as you go westwards here, we have got still warmer temperatures, 17s and 18s. So a very pleasant day across this portion of the UK here, away from any mist and fog and onshore cool breezes. This is the current satellite image here of weather online, and you've got this nice curl of low pressure here to the west of the UK and Ireland here. Notice here a large area of cloud cover that's associated with air coming in off the cool waters of the North Sea. You've got sunshine anywhere from parts of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, down into Cambridgeshire, East Anglia, for example. That's why we've got temperatures into the low 20s, even pushing 25 in a couple of places this afternoon. Then you've got some low cloud. You've also got rain moving in from the southwest. That hence the cooler conditions across parts of southwest Wales and southwestern England, for example. Sunnier skies across the west coast of Scotland, hence why we've got 20 Celsius at the Old Bay at the moment also. So you can see here the distribution of cloud and misty conditions, onshore breeze versus wind crossing over the hills makes a significant difference at this time of the year in terms of the feel of the air itself. So the question mark is a couple of areas of low pressure as we move towards the second half of the weekend, there is some uncertainty, especially as we move towards the upcoming weekend. The movement and depth of an area of low pressure that is going to be moving towards the southwest of the UK as we move through the next few days. Still a good bit of uncertainty with regards to that. But this is the area of low pressure that the Met Office are concerned about. You've got outbreaks of rain through the course of this afternoon across some areas of the central swathe of the UK. So up the spine of England, for example, up into southern and central Scotland. We've got showery outbreaks of rain here. There's that area of low pressure, that nice curl seen on the satellite image. We've got plenty of unsettled conditions across parts of France, Iberia. We've even got hill snow here because we've got that area of low pressure helping transport some unusually cooler, unusually far south here. A notable chill, by the way, in the air across Spain and Portugal, even down in Agadir, where I was in Morocco. There was a distinct chilly feel in the breeze in particular. Out of the breeze, felt pleasantly warm, temperatures into the low, possibly even mid 20s. But if you get that nagging chilly breeze coming in off the Atlantic, it actually felt kind of cool. And a lot of local people that I spoke to were saying this weather was really unusual. It was cold, it was bad weather, even though it was clear skies and the sun was shining. The windy conditions they were saying was quite unusual. So I thought it was a distinctly strong sea breeze, but they were saying it was unusually bad weather. And bad weather is very different to the bad weather that we would describe here in the UK. But I thought that was quite interesting. If we happen to look at the 850s, you can see what I'm talking about with regards to that transport of cooler air. So you see the reds here across southern and eastern Morocco, but get yourself to the northwest of the country and you've actually got some fairly cool air at 5,000 foot. Remember, we're into early May now, and this is unusually cool air across Spain, Portugal, parts of France. But look at this area of low pressure. On one side of it is transporting and pulling that cold air in from the Atlantic from a pretty decent distant north. You've got also warmer on the east side of the circulation that's pulling in warm and humid air, and that's going to be what will feed the showers and thunderstorms that we're going to see through the course of tonight and then tomorrow morning. So you can see here as we play it through the loop, there's that tongue of warmer air from the central portions of Europe getting wrapped around that northern flank of the low. Meanwhile, we've got that colder air on the southern flank of the low here. So quite an interesting upside down temperature profile given the position of low pressure. And equally so, that can be the problem with high pressure. Depending on the strength, position determines what type of weather and how warm the air feels is very important to see. Back to the overview, and we'll play through the loop over the next several hours, and you can see that we've got this thundery low that's going to be drifting its way and pushing its instability northwards here. So remember, it doesn't need to be a deep area of low pressure to bring cool and unsettled conditions at this time of the year. All you need to do is have a little bit of instability with a circulation of low pressure, but equally you've got cool air in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. You've got that strong mid-August strength sun, and what you do is you're enhancing the instability with that layer of cool air above warmer at the surface. That forces the air to rise, cool, condense, and precipitate. Hence why we've got showery outbreaks of rain, despite the fact that we've not really got a distinct area of low pressure in the way. So as we move out of Wednesday into tomorrow, we have got outbreaks of showery rain to develop here. And then you notice here that we've got this area of low pressure then that moves its way into the eastern side of the UK, bringing showers and thunderstorms and outbreaks of rain. That then spreads northwards as we progress through the course of Friday into the day and Saturday, and kind of fragments. The area of low pressure kind of then weakens, becomes flabby, and therefore you've got a rather benign type of situation developing across the UK. Still uncertainty with regards to a new area of low pressure that they're keeping an eye on, that the GFS model is indicating moving its way northwards to the east of the UK. That's going to enhance possible onshore wind, showery outbreaks of rain as we move into the second half of the bank holiday weekend here. Look at the outbreaks of rain across parts of Portugal, northern Spain, much of France, Low Countries, Germany. A very messy picture, if you notice here, as we move into the course of the weekend here. So I think I've covered long enough. I think I've spoken long enough. So I'm going to end today's video, but we will look at the details with regards to the bank holiday weekend coming up in the next day or so here. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. I do greatly appreciate that. Thanks for watching today's video. And remember that I do have the live stream, the Global Weather and Climate Report Edition 90, coming up this Sunday. So stay tuned for that as well. I'll see you again next time for more. Bye for now.